pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Thank you, Bethany. I'd like to go ahead and call this meeting together on September 22nd. For Conley. One of the funny things, we couldn't find a flag. They were fixing up this room, they hit it, or put it, I'm sure, behind the screens in their eyes, it was tucked away in the corner, but we found it. So we had the flag on it. We're going to go ahead and I think we have to explain the cards. We're looking for ideas of what you would like to hear and speakers we think we should have to Conley, and so looking for your input into it, so we can do that. We're also very pleased that we're going to start highlighting neighborhood associations again. And we have Denise from the downtown, and we're waiting for Dwayne from French Park to talk about their various neighborhoods. We're going to go ahead and start off, and we're going to move a little bit out of position. We'd love to have Lisa Solomon, principal of Madison School, who's online. Can she go ahead and speak? Hello, Lisa.
Hello, everybody. How are you? Nice to see all of you. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. So, and let me get into present mode so I could present what's happening in SAUSD. I wanted to get started first. Let me share in present mode with everybody. First of all, that this past week we had the SAUSD Wall of Fame inductees. A lot of people from the community joined, and we were able to recognize people who had done amazing things in sports and who really represented Santa Ana Unified. As you can tell, here's the list of the inductees that were recognized. They tried to cover as many different sports as possible, as you can see, from Kayla Stevens, who played basketball at Segerstrom High School, to George, who they recognized from the class of 1908 for what he had done in track and field at Santa Ana High School. It was a wonderful event where people were recognized and their families were able to come and see the great work that our Santa Ana athletes had been doing. So we're very proud of that. As you know, Century High School had a wonderful 9/11 memorial event in which they recognized the work of everybody, and they took a moment to reflect on 9/11, what had happened, and they recognized the work of that everybody had done, from the military to law enforcement, firefighters, on that day to help out during that event. And it was wonderful that one of our board members was able to attend as well as members of the community. As you know, this month is, and you may have seen pictures posted if you're following us on Instagram and Facebook, it's Attendance Counts Month. So you're going to be seeing kids that are dressed in funny clothes because they're having different spirit days to recognize attendance and why it's so important, being a superhero, coming to school each and every day. And then we're also celebrating Start with Hello Week, which we're doing at Madison Elementary School this week. And students are learning about friendship, how to make sure that they recognize when someone is alone, and how they can be a good friend to others. It's part of Suicide Prevention Month as well, but it's just one way. This came out of Sandy Hook, and the Sandy Hook Promise it's called, and it's one way to make sure that kids are not being isolated, that kids know who they can turn to for help, and that we also recognize what we can do to help others. 50 of our schools were recognized as 2021-2022 award winners for our PBIS programs, positive behavior and interventions and supports. As you can tell, we've listed all of the schools. We have many schools that were recognized as platinum schools for implementing programs and services that help to support students and positive behavior in a positive way. It includes everything from attendance to having school rules to having counseling and support systems in place. As you know, we have those here in Santa Ana Unified. They're available to our students, elementary all the way through high school. We have counselors that are available for our students to help provide those supports. And 50 of our schools were recognized for the amazing work that they're doing in this area. We wanted to make sure everybody knows about the wonderful college and career resource fair that's coming up at the Santa Ana Zoo. It's the wild world of college and career. Students and families will be able to learn about opportunities for attending college, as well as supports that are in place for students, and to learn about various careers as well. We hope that you will join us. It's from 6 until 8 p.m. at the Santa Ana Zoo. Hope everyone can make it and join us. We also want to let you know to be on the lookout. If you go to our Santa Ana website, there's lots of information about what's going on in Santa Ana. Our FACE department has been putting out wonderful community resources. It's not just for Santa Ana students, it's for the entire community. You can learn about COVID testing, where there's food distributions, where there's programs for kids, like National Chemistry Week is being celebrated at the Santa Ana Zoo, as well as other support like mental health supports, where you can get additional support with any medical needs and things like that. So we wanted to make sure that you know to visit our SAUSD website or follow us on Facebook, so you could hear about all the wonderful community resources that are available to everyone. And then once again, I need people to help us with a campaign that we're having. It's called Proud to be SAUSD. It could be a community member, a staff member, alumni, anyone who would be willing to share their story. And we want to make sure that we can share your story. So if you can share it with our communications department, our PIO office, it's also on the website. Tell us why you are proud to be SAUSD. Oh, and I'm stopping right there. Let me stop sharing. And that concludes the presentation for today. Does anybody have any questions?
I want to thank Lisa, because not only is she at this meeting, but she also had a parent meeting there at the school, right?
Yes. And I apologize for not being there. I just wanted to make sure that we were able to share the information with you. So that's why I'm on Zoom.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Lisa. Thank you. Okay, moving on to our next topic, we'd like the Sergeant Chin, could you come up and talk about traffic? We don't have any traffic problems in Santa Ana, do we?
Good evening. I apologize. I got reached out to almost at the last minute, so I'm not sure if I'm adequately prepared to address the concerns. What I'd like to do is basically get some information, including questions, but not from you folks. I do have some update in terms of personnel. The sergeant that's in charge of our parking control unit. So parking issue as it is throughout the city, as far as issues, community issues. I'm going to address any concerns and what have you. I'm also in charge of the part of our motor squad and a special program called the Steer. And I'm sure you folks have heard these loud engine vehicles just roaring down the streets. Unfortunately, it's become quite a trend that we're trying to fight against. But I have to say, the personnel that we have, we do deploy a certain number of personnel, not just our police department, but at least 12 other allied agencies that deploy with us, as well as the California Highway Patrol, because Orange County agencies take that matter very, very seriously. So I don't know if you actually notice a difference or not. Maybe you do when you read the newspaper articles, frequently talking about these issues occurring in the Los Angeles area. There's a lot of mayhem going on there, but you're really not going to see a lot of that. Although it's, I mean, we have been able to root the problem out, but it's quite manageable and it's been under control. And this program basically deals with intersection takeovers, impromptu street racing, and what we call parking shows. Hundreds of cars hacking into our shopping centers basically to take over. So I understand you guys see some of those problems still occurring, but we're doing the best we can to keep those problems occurring in our county. So I'm very proud to say that. My partner, corporal career. He's my field supervisor of that program. Extremely blessed to have him to work with me. Basically, the paper pusher. So whenever he brings us paperwork, I basically he's the hero that is out there. So any questions? I somewhat heard that the parking permit matter may be an issue. So any questions that I can answer? Tonight? About anything that's where. Yes, I'm sorry.
Hi, I live in Morrison Park, Rockland Pride, and my property backs up to Memory Lane near the intersection of Flower, which has been a location of quite a bit of street racing for as long as I can remember, which goes back to 1984 when that property came into my family. So I'm anxious for those street racers to stop because they're during the day, during the night, and they are relentless. You mentioned that you have 12 other agencies helping with the street racing. So I'm just curious, who are these other agencies?
Oh, they're pretty much it's probably easier for me to cite the agencies that are not necessarily involved. They are Orange Police Department, Glen Park, some of the smaller agencies. But the major agencies are, like I said, Highway Patrol, Huntington Beach, Anaheim, Westminster comes in place, Coastal Mesa, Newport Beach. What am I missing? Garden Grove is always there. Irvine Police Department and our department are sort of the co-founder of the program. Irvine, as you can imagine, their streets are big, intersections are big, so it's extremely accommodating to these people who want to go out there and start to get donuts in the intersection. So they are the ones to come up with a lot of the ideas that we are implementing currently. Not all 12 agencies come out every Friday and Saturday. They have their own issues, so that they have to handle. But typically, we have, I would say, at least 3 agencies, and these we deploy on every Friday and Saturday. I'd say at least 2 or 3 agencies that are out there, amounting to probably 6.
In Santa Ana.
Well, it could be anywhere, any participating agency's jurisdiction. If we hear that there's a problem of any kind, of that kind particularly. So it could be First and Main in Santa Ana, all those units will be there to address that problem. It could be a big parking show in Huntington Beach, and they have the authority to go to jurisdictions and agencies that participate in the program to swiftly go over there and handle the problem. How they Yeah, so I'm sorry, just one thing about these impromptu street races. I live in Corona. I have the problem. My house backs up, or anybody's house backs up to some street. It is extremely difficult to enforce against these races because you just don't know when they're going to occur. If you remember 2 years ago, that tragedy involving the Orange County Register editor, who was tragically killed as a result of a impromptu race between the 2 people who presumably didn't know each other. All it took was a sort of a nod at the intersection of 17th and Christian Street to just kick off. Those are extremely hard, but we're doing the best we can. And it's not just the enforcement of mechanisms. We have a social media approach, we have education to go out there and try to educate. But when it becomes a trend backed up or supported by social media, it just becomes extremely hard. One thing I would note that I was actually visiting my buddy of mine, retired sheriff's department, retired to Tennessee. So he was visiting his in-laws here. They live right at Edison and Olive. And I live in Millwall too. They indicated, and they live right there by Editor and Flower. They indicated that the cruising problem has subsided quite a bit, which is good, but I tend to believe that these trends change and cruising problem and low rider problem have in a way kind of moved into a now what you're seeing. These loud muscle cars making their comeback, intersection. So there's a lot of factors involved, but I'm happy to report that cruising problem is not as bad, although my partner will tell you, we do have a lot of low rider issues, certain pockets, we like to hit certain pockets, truck clubs that are out there, they're doing burnouts and whatnot. So we're doing the best we can to address those concerns. But I mean, if you hear those things happening in your neighborhood, please call us, and then we'll try to work with personnel.
That's okay. My name is Jeffrey Katz. I'm from Ward 3 Floral Park area. We're actually friends with the gentleman who did pass away.
Oh, were you there at the memorial?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. To support his family in the ensuing weeks. We're working on trying to help revive the business areas on 17th Street and Main, working very closely with the property owners of shopping centers between Jefferson and Greenleaf. These are horrible shopping centers, but we have plans to get revival. We really want to revive the entire creative business alliance and revive it as our cities get more and more congested, as we continue to build and build. It's really important to be able to have these 15-minute neighborhoods where you don't need to travel everywhere. You get to get everything you need within 15 minutes of your house. So we have to revive 17th Broadway Main. As I'm working on that shopping center, so first of all, that area, which is shared between Ward 3 and Ward 5, has been profoundly ignored by our those council members. The homeless crisis in that area has exacerbated horribly. But just in the issue of traffic, to simply have a conversation at that shopping center if you're outdoors, and we're trying to create outdoor space for socializing, for restaurants, it is impossible to hear something. The traffic is so loud. Yes, there are the occasional cars that go by that are revving up decibels that are beyond appropriate, but it's just a loud street. And I appreciate it's a major artery, but what strategies can we employ to quiet things down and make it a place that people will visit and enjoy?
Wow, that's going to be difficult. I've been here for 27 years. So this is my second tour.
Okay, would you mind speaking into the microphone?
Oh, sorry. I just like to. Okay. Best of the both worlds. 17th Street Main, as that particular area has evolved through the decades. I mean, I remember Ross, 17, 15, that certain area being just overrun by drug sellers and just all kinds of quality of life issues. I don't know. I really don't know how. I mean, about reducing noise reduction on 17th Street and Main. It's one thing. Part of the trend is these loud cars making their comeback, and they're just trying to outdo one another in terms of just being more obnoxiously loud, and as well as traffic hours. People are trying to go at lunch, come back. I mean, unless you have some suggestions, are we talking about during business hours, during daytime?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a tough one. I mean, I can tell you, I can try to have more officers go out there and kind of be more visible, but I'm not sure how that can, if that's noise coming from cars, those areas just being such big intersections. Unless you can offer some ideas, I can take back and do something.
I've got that. I mean, I would make it, this is horrible, I would Irvine-esque those streets and make the lights not synchronized so that cars cannot get the speed up. I don't know.
I mean, there's an idea. Okay, I'll
I haven't focused on it. I certainly focus on the problem. I don't have a solution. I was waiting to hear from the traffic factor, please.
Okay, what I'll do is I have direct pipe to our civil engineers. I can talk to them. I mean, that's an idea. So I'm just kind of playing with the light phasing to see if we can maybe spread out the volume of traffic at that location into or surrounding it. I don't know. I'm just kind of thinking out loud, but I'll definitely talk to Zed. He's a senior civil engineer. I'll talk to him and see what we can do about that. Yeah, so that's, yeah, at this point, I don't know. I don't want to just make something up. But I'll definitely talk to him and see if we can come up with some kind of.
So then I have two questions.
Yes.
One, if we hear a street racing, see a takeover, all of those facts.
Yes. Yes, the answer is yes.
The second question, how quickly you guys are able to pull that group together this time?
Well, unfortunately, there's a reason why it's called a race. So it happens very quickly. Part of the problem is that we're kind of experiencing some personnel or staffing shortage. When I was a motor 25 years ago, we had up to 26 riding motors. And we're down to 13 motors. It's due to attrition, due to all kinds of, different factors. And having said that, not every motor officer is trained to utilize a radar or LiDAR that they use. So I have to deploy my resources and personnel very wisely. As you can imagine, every day I have to juggle many complaints. And again, unfortunately, your concern happens to be one of the top or most spoken about or talked about. Loud cars just roaring through. They may not even be racing, but just for them to start some of the cars in their neighborhoods is loud enough to bother a lot of people. If I'm not mistaken, I think some of the noise issue come from cars that are not necessarily illegal. I mean, we used to be able to tell really easily years ago if it has any modification. Not to say that they don't do it, they do, but they've just become that much more savvy with changing technology. So I need, as close as I can, so for real, to actually inspect on the board and see if we can hit them where it really hurts. But again, we're out there doing the best we can, but they're also out there doing the best they can to elude us too.
And also, yes, on fines. Fines higher. What's that for?
Fines high enough to hurt them. I know what one of the tools they have is CHP, or I'm sorry, not CHP, state ref citation, where just some unwitting police officer like me cannot sign off these tickets. They have to take their cars into certain certified inspectors to get them inspected and get their citations signed off. But typically they fail. And again, even to that, they come up with ways to get around these things. So yes, I mean, if you're attacked with a citation like that, I think it's pretty costly. It's pretty costly. Sometimes they have to rip out pretty much everything. They have to go back to being stopped. Yes.
What do you think of speed bumps in residential areas are starting to put in? I noticed that driving in certain neighborhoods that speed bumps you have to slow down. Some are quite bumpy, some are just kind of smooth, but it does stop. So you, personally, I think that we're going to, I have stopped, I'm not those speeds, but I really would stop them, but I can go back to this.
There are pros and cons. A lot of folks don't realize this. Fire department generally opposes speed bumps, as you can imagine. They want to get there, and then their trucks and engines are very big and heavy. Police department, I mean, we drive obviously much like cars, so I mean, we could look at that. It's one of those things, they come up with these rubberized bumps as opposed to permanent ones. I mean, they do work. I'm not gonna say they won't work, but they just get used to it. They know exactly where they are. You know, folks like you guys, you guys don't need speed bumps to, you know, abide by the rules. It's some of the folks that really don't care. Yes. Yeah.
And they come around from everywhere, but they start the car, they come around from everywhere. That way, they
Yeah.
just spin there. You just almost have to go like that, when that happens a lot. I said that there's a bumps down there.
Right.
So that, or they just omit that.
Yeah.
that block, which
I think Frank from Public Works will be the one to, or his staff will be the one to start to do some research on that, because we don't just willy-nilly come out with power tools and start drilling into the aspects roads. So they're the ones that are going to have to, and I'll be more than happy to be the conduit to keep us up. I'm sure you've talked to them before, or people from Public Works, but if you haven't, I'll be more than happy to.
Yeah, they're experimenting with the speed cushions, the rubberized ones in the Logan area. And what's good about those is that the fire department can straddle them. They don't have to actually go up to their slow them down.
Washington Street.
And it's Washington Street into Logan Street, yeah, and that they started that a year ago. And I think what they find out is, what happens is it ends up diverting traffic off the street where the speed bumps are onto the streets right next to them. So unless you use speed cushion in the entire city.
Right. One of the things, and this happens all the time, and maybe a little bit more exacerbated because of the pandemic. School zones, school areas, pick up the school hours in the morning and in the afternoon. We get a lot of complaints, obviously concerning volume of traffic at these areas. Parents trying to drop people off. Flower and Alton, obviously, very, very big issue. So in the morning and in the afternoon, in the school hours, we run out of our motor officers and parking control officers very quickly because everybody in every area and concerned citizens are clamoring for enforcement. So I just wanted to kind of throw it out there to you. If you ever feel that, oh my God, where are they? Why are they not coming? And especially those hours, I mean, just every day, my complaint piles just piles up. So if I could just ask for a little bit of understanding, certain hours we tend to get more stressed than other times. And just a quick additional update, we are slated to hire 2 more full-time parking control officers, which I was extremely elated. We have, it's a currently 9-person unit, including a supervisor. So you'll see 8 parking control officers actively out there. And then we have a parking control enforcement contract company called LAZ, L-A-Z. Forgive me, I don't know what it stands for. Probably Los Angeles. I don't know. But that company is phenomenal. They really supplement our enforcement actions and efforts. So we're out, and also I think the city council members can attest to the fact that permit zone issue is a hot topic. But we're just saying, hey, folks, you guys need to work it out, turn a place into a permit zone, where they're going to go out and where they're enforce whatever you tell us. But it's a process, I think. It's kind of a long process. But again, I'll be more than happy to share my information, my direct phone number. If you guys ever have any questions or anything like that, you don't need to try to, I don't want you to try to find somebody to ask us. I want you to come to me so I can provide any answers or get you, fetch you the answers that you're looking for. Yes, 714-245-8294. Okay, she's writing down my numbers. Again, my name is Sergeant Richard Shin, S-H-I-N. So, yes,
Could you repeat that? I think I missed a digit.
714-245-8294. Yes. Yeah. All these stars and rockers mean that I'm not going anymore. So I'm stuck there, not like those people who keep climbing up. So you guys are fine, and I'll make sure you guys get the answers.
Yes, Frank, is there any questions online?
Sorry, guys.
Go ahead.
If you guys have any calls or any needed follow, just call the non-emergency line or the model riders or the street racing, if you think they're street racing. You don't know, you don't have any call. So I usually work every weekend, I'm usually here doing that street racing detail. And we'll be at issues at 17 Bristol, it's almost part of your award, kind of teetering there. But if you don't get the call, we don't know about it. So it's best that you call other dispatchers and then they'll bug me and I'll go over there and then check it out. But like my sergeant said, it's real quick. The street race happens in less than 4 seconds. So they're in and out real quick. Takeover's a little different. They're a little smarter than that. So we just have to be smarter than that. But then they counter surveillance us, do all this stuff. So they're actually pretty smart about it. So just if we see it, follow us. And then we'll go out there and try to assess it.
You guys going to recovery?
What's that?
You have recovery?
Yeah.
We have.
Yes.
So you because I could, when it comes to fireworks, that to me is like, I understand they do the same thing. They shoot the one. But 1,500 cops out there. And you nail 100 people in July 4th, 2022, 2023, and you find the same brand. I assure you, 2024, you're not gonna have a good brand.
And we do have some without it.
Thank you for the presentation, appreciate it very much. I'm also remiss to say we had 2 council members here to make with this. Councilmember Sarah, lovely like Ruby, and Councilmember Mendoza, who stands below. I do want to point out the map that we have over here, because we do have election coming up in November. And there's going to be 3 wards up for election, Ward 2, 4, and 6. And so you can see what the wards, because that was redistricted last spring. So you can see what ward is there, what neighborhood, and who your council member is also. So very much appreciate that. Okay, we're starting a new feature. It's the old feature we talked about doing, and we're bringing it back. We're going to have different neighborhoods talk about this stuff. So we're fortunate to have the niece from downtown. Niece, you want to come and tell us a little bit about downtown?
Hello, everyone. My name is Denise Reynoso. Thank you for having me here. As Mr. Benninger announced, I'm from downtown, so I'm your neighbor close by. I could walk here, but I didn't. I actually came from baseball practice, so I was trying to not live dusty. So in downtown, we've been doing a lot of different fun things, a lot of things centered around children, families, and diversity. We had a back to school giveaway at the end of summer, and I've been partnering with downtown businesses. So we're partnered with the Vibes Boutique on 4th Street. And that was just to help, because they're suffering so much. And so it brought awareness to this new store that opened up a few months ago. And we had so many people come. It was next year, I'd definitely like to get more help because we ran out of supplies so quick. Like this line went from the store to the street twice. And so we weren't expecting such a turnout. It was great, and we got to hear about the store. You might recognize the neighborhood hero in the picture. My friend Matthew. And so that was really great. So we partnered with the store and other community leaders that donated goods. And then movie nights, partnering with the city and with Frida Cinema to bring movie nights to Birch Park. There was a summer series, and again, also timing in with the downtown businesses. So they had like specials that they did just on those nights, special items that they offered. Cafecito extended their hours. So it was a great partnership to have, and just to help the downtown business. There's performers, and then they're going to do an October Halloween series on Thursdays. So I'm looking forward to that. And then downtown sets up a little booth there too, just to bring awareness to our neighborhood association. So one of our biggest focuses is Birch Park activation. We have a little neighborhood park in downtown. Most of downtown is made up of complexes, condominiums, and apartments. So there's these big structures, buildings, but there's no place for the kids to play. In my complex, it's 318 units, and we have no playground or nothing for the kids to play. So we have this awesome green space. It's really pretty. It's all grass, but there's no playground. It's just the grass, and there's the homeless. And so I would really like to see the fitness area improved because it's like a little shelter, and it encourages homeless people to sleep there. And just more kids events, and again, make it kid friendly to all the children that live there. Because I've lived in downtown my whole life. I've never moved, and this park has always been the same. So what does that say about the kids that live here? And are we servicing them? Are we meeting their needs? Unfortunately, no. And I know what it's like to live in an apartment where you're just staring at the walls and there's nowhere to go. And so I just think that we really need to put more efforts to make that green space usable for children. And just downtown as a whole, as far as like the restaurants, having kids' food, and just more spaces for the kids to be able to interact with those public spaces, and not have nowhere to go. And I just feel like it's so centered around adult entertainment. So I've been this day on Earth Day, I had a grant to kind of make like the art and play day. And so we go to our neighborhood park that now has a fence that everybody thinks is now a private park, but it's not. It's our park. It's a public park. So we go there and the fence was locked. And that was very exciting. So what do? We had our art and play on the sidewalk because we still wanted to show that it was our space, and that's not okay. Of course, my kids were like, oh, there's nowhere to play now. They're stuck in the street and stuff. So we still had our art. We had this like Earth Day project. We collected recycled materials and stuff to do our project. And so we still did it on the sidewalk. We waited for 2 hours for city staff to open it for us. So it's very upsetting. Not the first time that's happened to me. It's happened several times. And my son is very upset about it. And we'd really like to see a playground. So we have been partnering with placemakers across internationally, really. We have someone visit from Mexico. And we're doing little pop-ups. So we're asking our community to come out. We're trying to use this space, get people to, come out and have their picnics there, use their space, have their kids play with it. And then we're trying to get their input. What would you like to see here? What do you envision for Birch Park? And then we'd like to present that to the city soon. So we've been doing little pop-ups there. Last week we had a tent, or 2 weeks ago we had a breakfast at the park. So Birch Park activation is really big in our focus right now. And then switch. Over the summer, we did story time. So again, this is what people are asking me for, parents, families, we want to have more events. So they want me to do this monthly, but during the summer, I did it every week. And it was, again, reading and art. And I did this one because I just thought it would be interesting to do it based on social and emotional learning. So it was themed about that. I was talking about like our feelings and different things and strategies that the kids and families could use to help them at home. So it was a lot of fun. So we did that. That is up there. And then, oops, sorry, I came over, but lastly, I just wanted to mention real quick. I'm also from the Northeast San Little League. We're over on 17th and Grand. We're not in the downtown area, but I coach baseball there, and I also serve on the board. And we've been trying to get more kids to register. A lot of people will message us on Facebook. Where do we register? Where do we go? What do we do? So if you have anybody in mind, send them my way. If you put your camera over that QR code, it sends them to the registration link. So on October 7th, we will be opening up, sorry, October 10th, we'll be opening up our registration for the spring. So we just really want to encourage kids to come out and register.
That park is a real challenge. I don't think I've ever been there where I've seen you like your family there as opposed to it's just overrun by the homeless. What kind of attention are you getting from your council member? I mean, is this Mr. Hernandez? Is he your
Yeah.
council?
Yeah.
What is he doing for you guys?
No attention. But he's aware of what we like.
Maybe you could throw another festival. Maybe that's. Is there another festival?
I asked the city if they would go for it. Oh, yes. So our boundaries are from 3rd and Flower to 3rd and Broadway. So it's a bunch of complexes. So right up until Birch.
So it's predominantly rentals, it's apartments?
Okay.
So what have you done to generate engagement? I find it a little hard when we get rentals to get people to get invested with the neighborhood.
Very limited. I have to go door to door for a lot of things, and I also have to do a lot of printed flyers. Everything, they don't even look at the social media. I have newsletters, but it has to all be like word of mouth, printed flyers. I literally have to knock on doors. Let's go. We're gonna have a meeting. We're all gonna walk together. Walk with me. We're gonna walk back. So it is very much. Yes, at the same time. It's walking distance. It's across the street. And there's a lot of seniors in downtown. 3 of the apartment buildings are for seniors. Any questions? Thank you.
Thanks, Amy. Denise. Well, a lot has happened in our life. We asked Ryan to come speak about what's going on, as well as the staff, and also the designer of the new library. I should say the vision designer.
Thank you so much, everybody, for having me out tonight, good evening. I'm really excited to share with you all about our exciting project that will be happening at our main library. Our library is going to be undergoing both a renovation and a restoration. We are going to reimagine our main library, but we're also going to do it in a way that brings back a lot of the original design intention from our classic mid-century modern building that is now historic to our community. So we're going to bring in all of the new technology, great spaces for teens, children, but at the same time, we're going to look at that original design intention and restore our main library in many ways back to what it was when it was first built in 1960, but still bringing in all the modern environments, all the great places for kids to play, great places for teens to hang out and provide that community space. Public libraries at one time were thought of as, warehouses for books, right? That you went in, you studied. But the library in 2022 is a very different type of place. It's a place where communities connect, where families get to meet other families in their neighborhoods or in their community, build those bonds, create stronger community. So we really are a kind of unity type of organization. So with that, I would like to bring up our architect. His name is David Schnee, he's from Group 4 Architects out of South San Francisco. And he will be talking to you a little bit about the design and walking you through some of the slides and some of the content. Some of the content and new spaces we are going to offer our community. We have a great early learning area that's going to be put into our children's space and other multi-generational opportunities for families to be together. So with that, I'd like to introduce Mr. Schnee. We'll take it away, and we'll have opportunities for questions at the end.
Thank you, Brian. We get a round of applause for the library director and the library staff members. Can you raise your hand? Fantastic. Folks, it's a great fantastic. So as Brian said, this project is about honoring the past and celebrating the future. So about my firm, Group 4 Architecture Research and Planning, we have been specializing in public architecture for more than 4 decades, and with a specialty on public libraries. We have worked on over 500 libraries across California and across the US. Part of our team, because this is, as we said, a celebration of historic architecture, is Paige Turnbull, a Southern California historical architect who has experience here in Santa Ana and across other mid-century landmark buildings and libraries, and to bring in special talents for the children's experiential learning opportunities. We're as part of our self-consultant team, who's creative out of Chicago, who are doing experiential design. He gives a bit of a teaser of that as well. So we're going to give you a little tour outside in. So of course, this is a beautiful and unique building that should be celebrated. So many communities will say buildings my age, I can't be similar age, should be replaced with new. We've got a lot of vitality left in us, and it's been well maintained, but I've got over wrinkles, the building's got some as well here. So we've got to repair the windows, repair the marble, put in new lighting, and reimagine landscape while still keeping greatness on there. So we are doing detailed studies and scans of the various cracks that are here and how to restore it, give it lots of life for decades to come. So this aerial view looking from the south to the north, when the library was built, it was the first real building in the Civic Center area. Civic Center Drive to the north wasn't called that at the time, and to the south side, the side we're looking at was really the back of this apartment. Since then, the whole Civic Center campus of city and county resources and beautiful outdoor spaces. So what was once a back door is now a second front. And so we're going to put a new public entry to the south. We're going to expand parking as well, improve the east garden. And we had done a community survey. We had over 350 responses. And what was interesting is Californians, everyone loves their cars. We talk about traffic a lot, but over 40% of library users sometimes or often come to the library by foot, by public transport, by bike. And so having that walkability to the streets and the neighborhoods so we can be proud of. So the types of improvements are to create a public center entry, that's shown in red, improving the garden space to the right, and parking and service for the bookmobiles that the library has, which are really wonderful spaces. We're looking to put a new entry. So this, what seemed like a covered porch entry or carport there, was actually meant for the bookmobiles that in the past was meant not for people. We're going to enlarge the children's for a play area, a beautiful play area. Climbing space, we'll have more covered space and shade space for people to play there. And lined up straight on axis with the front entry. For glass, we'll have a new entry there. When you do something new to a historic building, you want it to be respectful but contrasting. Don't try to mix up history. I pretend I was the original architect then. So we'll be putting that there. For anyone here and who might be listening now or reported, we're at the earliest stages of this project. Everything you see here is still preliminary. We're just in the process of getting our first early stages cost estimate. City to make sure all the contingencies for the period of high, we all know inflation is really unusually high, there's market volatility. So just want to make sure people manage their expectations. We're setting up the vision. The big ideas here definitely be able to be accomplished. All of the details are all subject to change. So also the East Garden, we hope to be able to improve that. There's a giant fig tree there that drops fruit on people's heads, and it's going to be a real hazard and mess. There are beautiful, gigantic ficus trees on North Ross Street there as well. So we're going to remove some trees that are problematic to the foundation and are make the space unusable. There'll still be beautiful trees on the street, shade, new trees that will be landscaping, creating spaces for people to gather different size groups, for programs to just come as an individual or as a family. So these are some renderings that subject to be able to afford it, to have seat walls and trellises and different scale outdoor spaces for different gatherings. So this photograph is good to look at to get a sense of how special this was, this big tall space. We might call it a great reading room or grand reading room, and how the stacks originally fanned out and created lots of people spaces that were around the front. And so we're going to reorganize the building, restoring some of those truisms from the past and bring it to the 21st century. One of the things, if you look in this photograph, anyone who have family members who've been here for 101 years, so perhaps we have pictures of the grand opening here, perhaps family members that have attended that. There, and there was a beautiful browsing room with a fireplace that was removed in the 90s, and we're looking to put back restore a version of that in the original location. And so this is a view of that. I'll show you how the plans can be organized for this with the entry, the fireplace restored, but having it accessible from the civic campus entry to the south. And so again, if we can afford it, we'll restore the original flooring. And also on the second floor, which is now staff areas, a lot of staff will move down to the lower level of the building. We'll be able to dispose of the media center back then. What was media in the 60s? It was newspaper, microfiche. I don't know if it was 78 or 33 LPs and the rest. So we're bringing those are all historic. So we're actually going to gather the various historic resource spaces in the library and bring them to the second floor and reopen those spaces there. These are just views of other views of how that worked. It's going to just really flow very nicely. So this view from outside from near those openings at the top of the opposite stair, there's stairs on both sides, and looking to what we're going to do. Right now, the teams are in the basement, lower level space. We're going to bring them into the daylight, but still, rather than just a ground level, bring them up to the second floor where the meeting rooms are. Actually, for making the building fully code compliant, it's better to keep the meeting rooms to the ground floor, and that allows rooms to then open to the exterior and have that large programs just lower across. So there's going to be sort of a switch there. The street rooms upstairs, receiving technology. Oh, no, we're definitely going to have lots of collections, but we're updating the collections in the shelf, an all new shelf here that will have the same sort of feel that will be easier to browse and keeping the most relevant collection. So people still love books, but when we surveyed the public, the top 4 priorities for the library were to support young learners. So for children, the idea of something like this shown you short. For making places, like the library is a quiet place to come to study, to get help from librarians, because we all live in busy homes. A lot of people are sharing small apartments or just random sharing technology. So place to come and study, you see that all the time. To use technology was one of the priorities. 4th priority. Welcoming spaces, just the idea that there are very few public spaces that are open to all of us. So the library is really valuable. So the marketplace isn't a store, it just is how to browse popular materials. Here, adult heritage, green, blue, expanding. Well, these different color diagrams mean fundamentally is a intergenerational experience. People come to the library now, and different generations come. Kids, we say, are sort of gateway, bringing their adults, the adult see programs stuck in it. We will restore that. We're going to use it primarily for the staff and add a second elevator that would be right off the main entry. So red arrow from the two entries. And so improve staff areas as well. The second floor adult area, the elevator will come to a new lounge. And you're in the library, then we will go out to the Civic Center campus. And all the lounge area upstairs is an existing outdoor spaces for the district. The young adults coming up here studying this, will show you some pictures. Baker, as Brian, your library director, says the library is the warehouse of books. It's a place to get other people's creative and cultural content. Now the place, the library is a place where people come to tell their own stories, and whether that's to sit to write them, or record them, spoken word, video recordings, school projects, adults, podcasts, and all that, to have that type of technology would be done with that space. And people for the library is a place anymore, it's an active place, but people still want a place to have private conversations, Zoom calls, and the rest will have a variety of study groups, make use with video and audio recording, editing, studying rooms off the local people do digital work, tutoring, and other aspects that are very popular as far as small meetings to come and meet there as well in the future. And so the lower level is going to get most of the library staff to their budget and standing up to some light wells and to bring some natural light in to have archive and print of the library for a program needs for to have some of their storage as well. And I think I have a slide for the mechanical system in this infrastructure. It's old, a lot of it's going to have to. Getting to the fun aspect of it, how many of you have climbed through this yet? Come on, none of you are brave enough to do it. It's got a wonderful net. It's really fantastic. This is not your grandpa's library anymore, where you see it. It's about having a place for kids they can come, get the energy out, and then they're ready to calm down, come inside, read, learn, develop, things like that. So it's a really innovative approach to be commended for that. So Lucy creative experiential design as bringing, we have a large order play outside, so how we'll get creative play, constructive play, imaginative play, learning opportunities on the inside. And so interactive play space is a destination for families. It's going to be a dynamic, social, informal learning environment to cultivate interaction, spark curiosity. So we're going to have fun things to show you come back in the future. Our designers do these type of things, manipulate, think of them as children's discovery museums, the rest of type of spaces that come here, craft, things that we can manipulate or companies or be for specifically custom design. So team space, so many people who was true when this building was built, there was more space dedicated to restrooms than teams. And so teams are such a vital force. They are serious, earnest, next generation leaders coming here that are vital group. So having opportunities for them to have their own space upstairs, and these are illustrations of the type of maker spaces where people could be recording music or full power down the ceiling with work bench tables and wheels for students to make holiday crafts to school science projects. So building infrastructure is a bit scary down there, and we're going to do a major overhaul of a lot of the systems, elevators, restrooms, employee HVAC, mechanical systems, technology, security, and through that sustainability. So opens, it's all be done right before Christmas. Well, maybe these projects take many, many years to do. We're in 2022. We're in what's called conceptual and schematic design phase. That is at the end of October or November will be about 25% done with design. So the design phase is yellow. Will take us through all next year. Then we'll be submitting the work and building it, then reopening it. So sometime 2025, fall as well. So it's the target for it. So we're a partnership with the library, Public Works, City Council. As vital partners in this effort and the leadership for this presentation questions.
How old is the building that stands there right now?
It was started
62 years.
62 years. It's older than way
62 years ago.
62 years ago. So I mean, it was in design and development, I believe, back in the plans, I believe are dated 57. Yeah, in the 50s, and it opened April 1, 1960.
The one I used to go to as a little girl, it was on the Linkage school is.
Yeah.
And it was out Main Street.
All right.
So I was there in the summer, with my friends. We would get 10 books at a time. You know, and then go home and read for 2 days. Came back for our treat that we got for it. So that was our library.
Yeah, and you'd be surprised how many people still like to have the book in their hands. It's still really popular. And, you know, all the technology is a compliment, but I still truly believe the public library is the space and what's in there, and the space is the community space.
Now, is parking validated or would they park on the library?
So right now, they park at the P3, they park at the P3 courthouse library parking structure, and we validate for 2 hours. But the great thing about this project is that we're going to create, because there used to be, some of you may recall, a very large parking lot before the Civic Center was fully developed. I believe there was about 100 or nearly 100 parking spaces where that P3 courthouse structure, yeah, right, where that parking structure is right now. So what we're going to do is try to kind of redesign the area right now that we're eventually off Broad Street, where there's really no parking, it's just turnaround. And some staff, just a few parking spots for staff. We're going to create about hopefully about 18 to 20 spots in that area for our patrons and our community. Yeah. And that'll be our own parking as opposed to county run building. Yeah. Yes. Carnegie medallion.
So I tell the 2 medallions.
Oh, yeah, the 2 medallions on the exterior of the building. Absolutely. Those will be kept and we will restore those. Absolutely. I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
My question was about the statue that's out front. Any plans to change it, upgrade it?
So I have spoken to a local sculptor, person who does sculpture, and we have talked about, polishing it up a little bit, and she's actually come by and done a little bit of that. But as a part of that project, we could certainly have her back out. Her opinion was that there wasn't a whole lot more you could do to it. It's just kind of, over the years it gets that patina, and that's sort of how it's supposed to look. But I think, as the project closes out, we can definitely look at have her come back and spruce it up once again every few years is my intent, actually. Yes.
Is there a plan for extending the library?
Yes, there actually is a plan for renovating the New Hope Library, and we are working on that one right now as well. That one is a cannabis funded project, and we are in the design phase for that one as well. So our hope is to be able to open the New Hope Library back up, about the time that this library closes, to make sure we still have some continuity. Yeah, it's a smaller project. That's more of a a makeover for New Hope, but it's going to look great as well. Any other questions? Comments?
I just have to know those 25 records coming back.
So vinyl records are a popular thing right now. I think we were just talking about it the other day, of bringing back, getting a vinyl collection back in our library. They're actually more popular than CDs. Yeah. And it'll look perfect in our restored, 1960 library when we have a great collection of vinyl to match that area.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, thank you very much for having us.
Thank you for having me.
And I also want to add to the library was recently added a Pokemobile, which I assume is out and people using and is very, very helpful. Okay. Talk about improvements and changes. We have people coming to talk about the CA 55 to I-5 exchange, and really all the way from the 5 all the way down 405, correct? Okay, we have Claudia Mejia here. They said, all right. Great. I'm over for the story. I can sit, you know, I can, they can tell you stuff too, so.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Kalina North. I'm from OCTA, ready to talk about the 55 Improvement Project. Thank you for having us tonight. My colleague here, Marisa Strauss, she has a copy of the PowerPoint that will be presented, so she'll go ahead and hand that out. We also have a couple of extra resources in the back table there. We have a fact sheet about the project as well as FAQs. So if you're interested, you're welcome to pick that up during or after the presentation. So with that, I'll go ahead and get started. Thank you. So this is really meant to be an open conversation or presentation. So feel free to raise your hands if you have any questions. We'll be happy to answer questions about the presentation. So we'll go ahead and get started. Okay, we'll start off with the project. So we'll go ahead and get started with the project overview. So the project will add one regular lane and one carpool lane in each direction of the 55 between I-405 and I-5. In addition, the project will add what we call, in transportation terms, auxiliary lanes or merge lanes between interchanges. This project will run through our corridor cities in the cities of Santa Ana, Tustin, and Irvine. And also, the purpose of this project essentially is to improve mobility, traffic operations, as well as reduce congestion that you might have experienced traveling on this corridor. OCTA, although we are overseeing the project, Caltrans is the operator of the highway system, so they're actually overseeing construction, which actually began last month in August. Construction is expected to take about 3.5 years. Okay, so this next slide here on the top graphic shows the existing condition, which has one carpool lane and one regular lane in each direction, as well as merge lanes at some locations. The bottom graphic shows project improvements to address the current and projected congestion by adding a second carpool lane and one additional regular lane, as well as northbound auxiliary or merge lanes starting from MacArthur Boulevard all the way to Edinger Avenue. So there's going to be a lot of activity happening along this stretch, but we try to break it down in simple terms and identify essentially 5 major construction activities that will take place. So the project will improve bridges over MacArthur Boulevard, Dyer Road, Edinger Avenue, and also the railroad near Edinger Avenue. So in order to widen the bridges, there's going to be new retaining walls that will be constructed, as well as bridge columns that will be constructed. So just to help paint the picture a little bit easier, if you see here, this is the edge of the freeway going northbound. So in order to widen the freeway, contractors are going to have to demolish this what we call concrete barrier, right? And then they're also going to be constructing these bridge columns. Can't see in this image though, but there's also bridge abutments over here that have to be extended out. So like I said, these are the things that have to happen underneath the freeway to support the widening. In addition, there's going to be various on and off ramps that will be realigned. This will require periodic closures for up to 10 days. There will be 2 ramps that are going to be closed longer for 10 days, and those are the northbound Dyer Road Loop on-ramp and the southbound McFadden Avenue on-ramp. In addition, there's going to be surface streets that will be narrowed. For example, Coleman Street is one of them. And then we have other streets like Cowan Street that will remain the same width, but will be relocated or realigned. Lastly, utilities are currently being relocated. That activity occurred last year, and it will continue throughout the course of construction. Okay, so in these next few slides, I'm going to go over a regional improvement to address the weaving and merging that occurs around the northbound 55 and I-5 interchange. So once the project is completed, motorists using the McFadden Avenue on-ramp They are only going to be able to proceed onto northbound 5. They will not be able to get onto 55 north or 5 south. So instead, if you live or work around the area, to get to 55 north, motorists can take Newport Avenue. So just for orientation, this is the ramp that we saw earlier. They'll have to take Newport Avenue, and under the 5 freeway, there's a ramp on the left-hand side that'll take you onto northbound I-5 to connect you to 55 north. Now, if you're looking to go to 5 south, take the same route here to Newport Avenue, you're gonna make a right onto Nissan Avenue, Nissan Road. And right at the corner of Red Hill Avenue and Nissan Road, there's an on-ramp to southbound I-5. In terms of construction impacts, generally the contractor will be working on weekdays, but there may also be a need to work at night or on weekends. For major construction activities, such as full overnight freeway closures may be required. So these closures typically take place between 10 p.m. and 5 a.m., something similar I have seen on the 405 or in South Orange County. So as mentioned earlier, some on and off ramps will be closed for up to 10 days with the exception of 2 ramps. We do expect some noise and vibration to occur from activities such as demolition, pile driving, and concrete barrier removal. In addition, there will be lighting for nighttime construction activities. So I'm going to just stop here really quick. Does anybody have any questions regarding the actual work that I described, questions about the project in general before I move on to public outreach?
There's some questions, but on your second page of this, before where it drives lined up, you know, is that a loop on there, specifically they allow trucks to leave?
Yeah, so this is just a mock-up, this is not a realistic rendering.
It's just showing the number. What they're now.
Somebody else have any questions? Any additional questions? Okay. Okay. We'll go ahead and move on to public outreach. So OCTA does have a comprehensive communications plan to get information out to the public, especially pertaining to the project schedule, different activities, as well as closures and detours. Our strategies are very inclusive and equitable among the community along our border cities and beyond. We do conduct stakeholder briefings, including those with major employers, chambers of commerce, civic organizations, etc. We also will be doing business focus outreach as well as school outreach as well to get information about the project. In addition, we do hold what we call pop-up events and community gatherings. In fact, we were just out last month for our Santa Ana's National Night Out. We had booths out there, talked to people. We had somebody that was Spanish speaking as well present at our booth to talk about the project and encourage people to sign up for our project alerts. So we'll be doing more of this as we proceed through the course of construction. In addition, we do develop a number of collateral materials. As I mentioned, we have a fact sheet and FAQs in the back. When construction is further along the road and there's closures and detours, we also produce a number of maps that will be targeting to specific communities, just depending on where the activity happens along the corridor. In addition to that, we're on social media, so your standard Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. We also have an interactive Google map. It's on our website, it's hosted on our website. So basically, that map gets updated on a weekly basis. Marisa and I attend the construction meetings first thing Monday morning. We have an idea of what will occur the following week. So that map actually will be live with recent information pertaining to any closures and detours and major construction activities happening for the week and the week after. So that's a great resource. In addition, we also offer text alerts. So if you're interested in receiving text alerts, you're welcome to opt in and sign up for that as well. Okay, so moving on to our Focus on 55 business program. We do recognize the impacts that construction could have on a business, especially along this corridor. The majority of the folks along the corridor are businesses, right? So we've developed a business support program called Focus on 55. which offers marketing assistance to increase exposure for businesses and encourage folks to shop local. This is free to businesses, there's no cost. And what we'll do is we'll feature the business on our platforms, right? So our email alerts, social media, our website, it's all hosted in one place for folks to find information about this business. Again, it's free. Any business in the cities of Santa Ana, Irvine, and Tustin are welcome to sign up. So with that, we'll wrap up with just how to stay connected. Again, there's several ways for folks to stay connected to the project and us. We have our website there, octa.net/SR55South. We do have this website currently being redesigned right now, so it'll be a lot more visually appealing and user-friendly. So we're excited to launch that in a couple of months. We have an email address, sr55info@octa.net. If anybody has questions about the project or anything related to that, you're welcome to email us. I receive it along with members of our team as well. So just doesn't go out to nowhere. We also have a hotline. It's a phone number that directly connects to Marisa as well as a couple members of our team. So you'll always have somebody to answer on the other line. And then lastly, again, just to reiterate, we're on social media at 55FWY Project. So with that, I'll be happy to answer any questions that anybody has. Sure.
That cost, what's the figure of this project?
So the estimated construction cost right now is $475 million. And just to add a little bit more to that, that's actually funded by OCGO, which was formerly known as Measure M, which is the local transportation ballot initiative that was approved by voters and then also voted by approvers again once it's sunset. So it's funded by local Measure M dollars formally, as well as state and federal funds. OCTA did apply and receive $140 million in grant monies from the California Transportation Commission. So that was a real help in terms of supporting funding for this project.
Utilities are being worked on now, or we actually see some dirt being moved out there.
Some dirt? So that's a good question. So if you drive along the corridor right now, you'll see that K-rail, the white concrete barrier, right? That's already been placed on the northbound direction. So contractors are going to do that first. There's some restriping that's underway right now. So what contractors have to do is create the work area for the contractors, which is the K-rail, and then they'll have to restripe the lanes to move traffic towards the center median, right? So they can work along the edges. We're at the very onset of the project. We don't have a complete construction schedule just quite yet. That's still being worked out. So in terms of physical activities that you might see with dirt movement, that's still yet to be determined. But a great way to find out is kind of for project owners. Yes.
Why is it that you're California or Orange County, everything goes with the idea or accepted the idea of having a train go down the middle?
Down the middle of the freeway?
You know, like that, you know, and that would take a lot of traffic off the freeways to be, and all this widening restrictions that have to go on forever.
Yeah, I can't answer that, but I will share my insights on that just because I am overseeing some rail projects throughout Orange County. But to create a train system through, like we said, a freeway, or even relocate an existing rail line, right? So like in South Orange County, you have the rail system that runs along the coast. I know there's been discussions about relocating segments of that up and moving it closer to the 5 freeway to deal with some of the erosion that's taking place down there. Cost-wise, it's very cost prohibitive. You're talking about billions and billions of dollars, plus you're talking about right-of-way acquisitions, right? Homes, businesses that are going to be displaced, permanently affected. So there's a lot of risks, a lot of potentially negative impacts that could be involved in a situation like that. Yeah, Marisa can add to that. You're talking about a stretch of tracks, right? But there's also signals and communication facilities that have to support the rail system. Yes, platforms and train stations. So it does expand beyond the width of the train.
At this point, to have the infrastructure to support that kind of system, it would have had to be done, you know. Yes, exactly. So we wish, I would like to. Exactly, exactly, yeah, so unfortunately, within the right of way that exists now, like we was talking about, it would be very, very challenging to add that at this point. But we all know how, helpful it is when you're in other parts of the region and even throughout the country with different types of transportation modes available. So that's kind of what we're dealing with now in Orange County, just speaking about this local area, the right of way and the costs associated and the challenges associated with building something new would be very, very challenging. So.
Yeah, and I'd like to also add that for this project during the design phase, there's also a phase we call right of way. That's essentially dealing with property owners that are affected by the project, right? So for this project, there were over 30 properties that were impacted to some degree. I don't recall if there were any properties that were permanently affected, meaning that their building would be demolished, but there were what we call temporary construction easements. So there's a majority of those businesses along the border, even some homes further north. There's a complex up there, Paseo, etc. Canyon properties further north. In case they are temporarily impacted, meaning that contractors will need parts of the property to build the freeway. So there were a lot of negotiations during the design phase with over 30 properties. So that in itself took some time and money. Any other questions? Thank you. Okay, well, great. Thank you for having us.
It's an exciting project. One of my pet peeves, please, when they test the street lights, I'm turning them off. It leaves me how many products I walk by and it's midday and these lights are on and I call this, oh, they're testing. 2 months later, they're still on, guys. Turn them off, okay? So please tell the contractors, if not, they're turn off.
We'll work with our partners with the cities. I mean, many of them are within the city jurisdiction, that's why we're working closely together with the local agencies to help coordinate.
Well, this is a site project that definitely needed, so thank you. We were going to ask the council members if they'd like to say a few words. Lee, would you like to say a few words?
I need a step stool first. Good evening, audience, and everyone out there in the virtual world. It's always a pleasure being here to give you an update on everything City of Santa Ana. As you know, at the City Council meeting on Tuesday, we voted on a very significant issue, which is the candidate tax rate. And I'm happy to report that we're going to continue to get some revenues from having such a business here in the city of Santa Ana. And we are encouraging those businesses to remain here, so we want to remain competitive. And that money goes right back into the communities. You know, we've offered so many services to our youth on that money that comes in through that business. And then the other 1/3 is used for enforcement, and then the last 1/3 is for the educational purposes. And so that's the latest update that I have from City Council. All the other stuff is probably just routine, unless anyone here has any specific questions. I do want to encourage everyone to get out there and register to vote, because it's very important that you get out and exercise your right as an American. We need to do that. So if you think it's not going to make a difference, it will. So please get out there and vote. Get your neighbors out there and vote and register and come on out, and I'll see you November 8th. My colleague here, would you like to introduce himself?
Introduce the whole thing. Thank you, Carl, and thank you everybody that's here, and thank you everybody at home. So a couple of updates in addition to what Councilmember Mendoza had mentioned. So two items I really want to bring up. So the first one is an item that I brought up at a council meeting a couple meetings back, and then we finally have an ordinance on the books today. And that is a requirement that that commercial shopping centers post contact information, 24-hour contact information. So when you go to a shopping center and you see something wrong, obviously, a lot of times those folks are not on site. And in some cases, you have shopping center managers that manage multiple shopping centers. And so the idea is that how do you get a hold of them, especially if there's some sort of issue on your site? And so rather than call the city and wait for the city to get out there and enforce it and take time, it's just cutting right to the chase and getting directly to the property managers. So they now have to post 24-hour contact information at each point of ingress and egress. And so that's being rolled out now. So that's one thing. And another item, and this one's going to be coming back to council, and that is the, so I don't know how many of you are familiar with our sunshine ordinance. So our sunshine ordinance, I would say, is something that San Ana should be very proud of. So what we require in this city is if you are applying to develop certain projects that exceed certain thresholds, we require community meetings in advance of the public hearings that come before planning commission and city council. So in advance, in fact, within the first 30 days, when they apply for these entitlements, they have to hold a community meeting and provide materials back to the city that are posted online that talk about what the questions were asked and what answers were provided by the applicants or the developers. So what we're trying to do on this particular item that I introduced at the last council meeting is to clarify what those meetings are, the format of those meetings. So we've had a general plan update, and we anticipate, because of the 5 focus areas within the general plan, that there will be possible applications for development. And those applications will probably trigger the requirement for sunshine ordinance meetings. And so the hope is that by clarifying what those meetings or how those meetings are conducted, it provides a sense of certainty and expectation for everybody that's participating. Because I think it's a little ambiguous currently in the code. And so the idea is to provide that certainty both for the residents and the developers, so that they don't come in and go, well, gosh, I don't know how we should do this. Maybe we try something, maybe we don't. And I know for residents that have an expectancy of what they think they're going to see at the meeting. And so what we're asking staff to bring back to us for adoption is a format to where just good old fashioned one presentation, folks are in the audience, they listen to the presentation, and then they have the chance to ask questions and get answers. We want to make sure that everybody's hearing the same thing. And in addition to that, we're going to ask for these meetings to be recorded, or the presentations to be recorded, so that they can then be posted on the city's website along with the other pertinent information for those applications. So that way, for those like tonight, for those that are at home that can't be here physically, they can still access those meetings and see what's being proposed for their area. So those are the 2 updates I want to provide anybody. But if you guys have any questions, I think my colleague, have the right PSA by saying register to vote and go vote. But if you guys have any other questions, I'm happy to answer. So I'll jump at once. All right. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Carl. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, with that, we're going to go ahead and close this meeting. Our next common meeting is October 27th. And hopefully we'll see you then. And thank you for all the speakers. Thank you and good night.